Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. How many of you remember when Caitlyn Clark said this? We're going over to X to Rocky Mountain Vibes page.
DB is somebody that, is a Hall of Famer, like a legend, not only a good basketball player, a great person, a great leader. The strongest voice in our locker room is hers. And it's fun to have been around here now for about a month just to get to learn from her and soak it in. And I'm really happy she got to do it at the free throw line and all the fans could go crazy and cheer for her because she certainly deserved that moment. And it was really awesome to see and be a part of.
That is just yet another example of how classy Caitlyn Clark is, how classy this Fever organization is. DeWanna Bonner was welcomed in. She's 37 years old, and yet they made a place for her. She couldn't handle it. She decided to go on an extended vacation and then decided she wanted out. We don't have to relive all of that. But she waited around to get to Phoenix, to get back with Alyssa Thomas, which makes this league really like, oh my goodness, are you for real? But anyway, we know how this works. It's not like serious in terms of how professional businesses operate, meaning the system of the WNBA. So now on Monday night, the Phoenix Mercury took on the Golden State Valkyries, defeated them by 1, and Bonner had a huge game. And the Phoenix Mercury thought it was a good idea to troll the Indiana Fever. Let's go over to the Phoenix Mercury's X page. Phoenix Mercury posted this. Turns out DB is still really good at basketball. Turns out DB is still really good at basketball. I'm not sure where they get these numbers from, 18 points, 10 rebounds, because she actually had 22 points and 11 rebounds. So I don't know, maybe this was a graphic from another game, whatever. This is the point I'm focusing on right here. And that is, turns out DB is still really good at basketball, which is a way to troll the Indiana Fever. Or is it just me who thinks that? Of course, it's not just me. Actually, when I first saw that, I thought, oh, wow, what a troll. And then I took a step back and I'm like, well, maybe the Mercury means, wow, like, turns out she's still really good. And I'm like, no, let's get back to what it really was. And that is trolling the Indiana Fever, poking the Indiana Fever, criticizing the Indiana Fever. The part that you don't see because it's not written there is the Indiana Fever didn't know how to utilize this great basketball player, DeWanna Bonner. The Indiana Fever had her sitting there on the bench. Now, of course, she comes off the bench for this team as well. But the Indiana Fever, oh my, you had us thinking that she couldn't play ball. Turns out when she's with the right team, she can still ball. And she did have a good game. Here she is right here. She had 22 points. She went 7 for 8 from the field, 3 for 4 from three-point land. She had 11 rebounds, and 2 assists. She had 1 steal, and she was a negative 11 while she was on the floor, but nonetheless, 22 points, 11 rebounds off the bench. This means another career milestone for her, the 5th game in Mercury history with 20 points and 10 rebounds off the bench. So, okay, great game. Now, does this mean that she didn't have great games in Indiana because there was something wrong with Indiana? And now the world needs to know that, oh my, she still can really play. Don't pay attention to what you saw over there in Indiana. She didn't even give it any time in Indiana. She didn't take time to gel. What she did was show that she was not the leader they thought she was, and she bailed. Who does that? And what kind of league rewards that? But the trolling part is really, to me, representative of everybody wanting to feast off of the popularity of the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever will have to play the Phoenix Mercury, and they want all eyeballs on that You would think they would not want to create more drama in the WNBA, but apparently not, because they want to capitalize off the fact that when the Indiana Fever plays, people are watching. And so they want to like mooch off of that, if you will, take advantage of that, because it's going to be interesting. I'm interested in seeing what it's going to be like when they have to face off, when DeWanna Bonner's in the Phoenix Mercury uniform and they've got to have that, they got to have that head to head. I am interested. So doing stuff like this is just their way of capitalizing off of the Indiana Fever. Do you remember when Caitlyn Clark was drafted into the league? The same organization, the Phoenix Mercury, put up this graphic hyping up the GOAT, Diana Taurasi, versus the Rook, Caitlyn Clark. And of course, Diana Taurasi had already been saying about, you're coming in with some grown women and all the stuff. So they said, oh, let's grab onto that. Let's grab onto that. We've got the GOAT versus the Rook. Now, of course, the Rook beat the GOAT every single time they faced each other, including the All-Star game. But Phoenix Mercury probably wasn't expecting that. And so, they did that little thing to get people to watch, which is fine in a situation like that. The GOAT versus the Rook. If you believe Diana Taurasi is the GOAT, as many people do, I'm not one of them, but many people do. So they were working off of that. This situation to me is kind of low when you consider the whole story of actually how this thing unfolds that has DeWanna Bonner over in Phoenix. Now, if I were the Indiana Fever, I would reply to that tweet or post very good-naturedly. Remember, their post says, turns out DB is still really good at basketball. My reply would simply be, well, who knew? Enough said. Because she didn't show us jack. And if she were still really good at basketball and she were a professional, she would have stayed around long enough for us to find out. But since she stunk up the court and then left, my reply with the smile emoji at the end would be, well, who knew? Hey, I said I'd put a smile emoji at the end. Wow. Phoenix Mercury, you're going all in. I'll catch you next time, God willing. Remember, this is where sports and culture connect. Hit the subscribe button. God bless you abundantly.